Hey, I'm Shauna. Welcome to our Brooklyn backyard. I'm here with my dear friend, Jonathan Merritt. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what's fun about you being in this backyard with us right now is you were our first ever guest at a backyard dinner party when we first moved in.
I did not know that.
So it feels very fitting for you to be back here with us again.
Here we are, dear diary.
Here we are.
You're not going to believe this.
It's like a cool 90 degrees.
Yes.
About 88% humidity.
Right.
So we're just going to sit out here for a long time.
Yes.
Just really
okay.
get comfortable.
Right. We can do this.
Yeah.
I'm from Georgia. I can handle it.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
I can handle it.
This is normal for you.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about today, a couple different things. The first thing is there is a Pastors, Priests, and Guides one-day retreat coming up here in New York.
Yes.
On September 28th, I think.
Yes.
From 9 to 4 at St. Peter's, and you are one of the kind of key guides for that day. I want to talk about that day in a second, but first I want to talk about Pastors, Priests, and Guides in general.
Yeah.
You've been a part of it for a really long time. What is it about this work or this community? You've got like a million things going on. What keeps you a part of this? Why this?
Two things come to mind when I think about Pastors, Priests, and Guides, and let me say this because I'm not paid to say this. I can tell you, I'm not being paid to say this. Before I took my current job, when I was doing a lot of traveling, speaking, I was on the road 150 days a year, and I did a lot of events, conferences, colleges, churches. The one event I told my assistant I would never miss is a Pastors, Priests, and Guides, and that's the truth. The reason for that is that there is such a heart for caring for people who are called to care for other people. And before I moved to New York, I worked in the church world. I know you've worked in the church world. And there is a real extractive nature to spiritual caretaking that often gets overlooked. We think about people in those roles as people who they do for us and we appreciate it, but we don't often think about what it costs them. And so we're not always asking who's caring for the people who are caring for others. So I think that there is just something that is so important and overlooked, and that's the mission of Pastors, Priests, and Guides. The other thing is that because I've been involved with it for so many years, I could tell you story after story of transformation. And, I won't call any names, but I even think about one couple. We've talked about this couple so many times. They came from the Midwest, and they were at a Pastors, Priests, and Guides that we did in Chicago. We did this at this gorgeous Jesuit retreat center. If you ever get a chance to go to one, it's unbelievable in Chicago.
Yeah.
Just a place of total peace where you can really center. And they came in on fumes. They had been beat up in their community. They had faced a lot of adversity for loving people that the community wasn't sure if the church should be loving in such an overt way. And they had suffered for it. They were at financial risk because of it. They felt that they had lost their friends, because a lot of the work that we do when we're doing spiritual work, it's like the line between the professional and the personal is blurred. And so it had impacted their social life. I think had started to wear down their marriage, even their relationship with each other. I'd place my hands on their back in the opening liturgy, and they just began to weep, and they shook. And we do this exercise, spoiler alert, if you've never been to Pastors, Priests, and Guides, called How Are You Arriving?, where we just sort of say the words, how we're arriving. And their words were so sad and despondent, and really just encapsulated this place of emptiness and hurt and longing. And at the end of that retreat, after I had watched them transform, come back to life, it was like watching someone get spiritual CPR over a couple of days. You saw them begin to laugh again and smile again. There was the night of delight, which is something that we do at the full retreat. We saw these two individuals who showed up just flatlined, come back to life, even come to sort of show affection toward each other, to sing with different facial expressions. And by the end, when they said the words how were they leaving, how were they departing, they were totally different words. And I think about that because it is one story, but it's actually a story now that I recognize, because I see it happen again and again and again at these retreats. So I always said, if I can be a part of a community that has the power to do that in the lives of people like that who deserve it so badly, then I would always make time to do that.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story. And I know well enough that I know that's not the only story like that. Just like you were saying, that it is a community where people come in deeply depleted, and it sort of shores them up and heals up some things inside of us as a community. It's really significant.
And can I say one more thing too, actually,
Yeah.
about this, because this is something that's really special, and you'll get this because you go to a lot of events that have kind of a green room culture, and that is not pastors, priests, and guides. The guides are participants. So the gift for being a guide at Pastors, Priests, and Guides is I got to go to all of these retreats over the years, and I will tell you there were times that I came and I was prepared with my talk, but I was coming in on fumes, and I came back to life over and over again. So it's not just that I have seen the transformative work of being in a retreat setting like this, that where people who are thoughtful, who have really, they've really reflected and discerned how they can care for these hearts and souls. I've not just seen how that's affected other people, but I've experienced it myself. You know, it's like the old hair club for men. Like I'm also a client. You know what I mean? I've experienced it myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so beautiful and so rare.
Yeah.
If you've done as many events as we've done, it's not always like that.
That's right.
And to be in an environment where you feel like it's not just something that you're pouring out or giving, that's something you're receiving as well, that's really unusual and sacred.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about this particular New York retreat. What are some of either the like themes or ideas, or what are you going to talk about?
Okay, well, I'm gonna start with the fun, and then I'm gonna go to the deep, if that's okay. So we are meeting at St. Peter's in Chelsea, which maybe not everybody who's watching this knows, but is just down the street from where we used to live.
We did.
We lived together for, I think, almost 6 years.
6 years.
And so we know this neighborhood very well. And so one thing that we're going to offer is a little kind of walking guided tour where we're going to make some stops along the way. We're going to go back by our old stomping grounds, our old home, and give a little tour of that, go down the High Line and go to Little Island, which is there's several different historic places that we're going to stop at. And I love that. I love being New York tour guide. So that's going to be fun. On the spiritual side, you know, when I was talking to Aaron, I said, I know it's a little weird, but I would like to actually explore a Christmas text, or a text that you might normally explore at Christmas, but there's a reason for it. Late last year, right around Christmas, I started to think about Joseph, and just, you know, Joseph is one of those characters. He never speaks a word in the entire Bible. He's a character that is so central to the story and central to the text, and yet he speaks with his life and not his words. And he's one of those characters that you don't find a lot of books written about Joseph. There's not a lot of sermons written about Joseph. He doesn't show up as the center of the liturgy, you know. You get him as a figurine if you get a nativity set. He comes in the package. But we don't think a lot about Joseph. And so I began to kind of study Joseph and Joseph's experience in the places where he shows up. He only shows up in a handful of verses. And I was really drawn to something in the text that God comes to Joseph when he's sleeping, which is something that feels like, yeah, of course, we know that. We know that Joseph has a dream, that the revelation of God comes in a dream. But I began to read the writings of Walter Brueggemann when Walter Brueggemann is reflecting on this to say that it is important and should not be missed that God comes to Joseph when his guard is down. When Joseph is engaged in the most ordinary and mundane act, when he's doing the thing that he does every night, the thing that we all do every night. Every day we do this thing that feels so ordinary, and yet God comes to him in the ordinary. And I began to think about how when we want to have a fresh encounter with God, and a lot of people coming to an event like this, that is what they want. They've been doling it out, and they've been producing, and what they want is, they want a fresh encounter with the Spirit of God. And so they come just hoping and praying. Not that we will create something, because that's not what we do. We just hold space for people to notice the God who's already there. And when people come and show up, they think, well, I've got to go away. I've got to go to a holy place. I've got to enter a church. I've got to go to retreat. And you can find God in those places. In fact, I've seen people find God at retreats like Pastors, Priests, and Guides over and over and over again. I've experienced God in powerful ways on retreat. But what I see in that text is that and it's the more transformative thing and the more impactful, I think, spiritual truth, is what it means to find God in the everyday, in the mundane, in the ordinary, to open our eyes to the God who meets us on the back porches. And not just when we go away from retreat, but where we lie down and where we wake up, and the places where we prepare food and where we spend time with our families. And, you know, there's a quote by Father Richard Rohr that God comes to us disguised as our own lives. And so what I hope to do, I think, in this talk is to help to give people a kind of awareness for where God might be showing up in their own lives, so that they can take something that they experience in this retreat and they can go back and have retreat in their everyday life.
I love that. I mean, you know, one of my kind of most deeply held spiritual beliefs, I guess, is that this is it in the best possible way, right? We're not waiting for mountaintops. We're not waiting for big overt signs and miracles. This is it. In the backyard, around the dinner table, with people we love. You know, one of my favorite all-time quotes, Eugene Peterson says, "To eyes that see, every bush is a burning bush," right? We're waiting for the big stuff, but it's all here, embedded in our daily lives. I think that's so beautiful.
Yes.
And, you know, part of the reason it matters so much to me is because I forget so easily. So I need those reminders on it, you know, oh, right, here we are. This is it. It's happening.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this. And one thing, I think I've told you this before, but actually Henry and I, sometime this last week, we were talking, I don't know how we even got on this topic, but we were talking about who our favorite preachers are. And we both said, Jonathan Merritt is my favorite preacher.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we did.
Oh my, that is a Dear Diary moment. I need a pen and a piece of paper.
But we really, for real, we did. And
Wow.
we talked about why. We talked about the various dimensions of how you preach, like a storyteller, but also like a Southern preacher, like someone who's so deeply intelligent, but also so kind of wise on a soulful level. And so I'm so excited about this. I love hearing you preach, and I'm so
Oh my
excited
gosh.
to get to hear this sermon.
I love it.
It's going to be
I love
great.
it. Well, I'm excited too.
Okay, so let's talk about, you know, we're talking about September, but it is now August, which means it is both of our birthday month.
Oh, yes.
It was just yours.
Yes.
It's about to be mine. I don't know if you get, I get a little like...
Are you a Leo? Can
oh,
we
yeah.
talk about horoscopes on this?
100%.
Okay,
Yeah,
you are.
yeah.
Oh, we are
Mhm.
both.
Yes.
I can see it. The Leo in me recognizes
Right,
the Leo.
right.
Namaste. Okay.
Yes. Here we are. A lot of energy.
Yes,
A lot of big
yes.
energy. But like, birthdays make me a little contemplative, a little like thinking about my life, thinking about my future, thinking about my past. Is there anything with this birthday that you've been thinking about or focused on a little more?
Yeah. Well, I turned 44, so I'm 1 year away from the halfway to 90 mark, which feels big. It feels like a milestone. You were with me at my last big milestone when I turned 40. We were in Miami.
I was just talking about this with a friend who's coming over for dinner, and I was like, okay, here's Jonathan, and this is his birthday, and I was talking about your incredible 40th birthday.
My incredible 40th birthday, and I had 50 people in Miami, which I loved, by the way, so this is not a knock on that. But I was thinking about how in the first half of life, I had a real breadth of friendship. And what I think I want in the second half of life is a real depth of friendship. I want to spend more time with fewer people. You know, it's like that saying that the one thing you can't make in life is old friends. I want to spend time with my old friends. I want to spend time with people like you. I have sat in your living room and I have wept about things that we can't even repeat on film. Right? Never. We will never. We have experienced life in a way that, I can meet somebody down at a coffee shop and I can say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hang out with them every Thursday going forward. But there's something about in this season of life for me, I want to spend more time with fewer people, and the fewer people I want to be my old friends and the friends who have seen me. They have seen so many different versions of me, and they have loved so many different versions of me, which I think is something that gives me a real sense of safety and friendship, because by the time you reach 44, 45, whatever, reach midlife, you begin to realize that you are always on the cusp of becoming somebody else, and you have this, you worry almost, will the people who love me now love me when I become the person I'm becoming? And I want to invest more time with the people who I know will love me no matter who I become.
Because they've loved you through all these other selves.
That's right.
History says there's no new person you might become that will be too far beyond this love that they have for you.
That's right.
Yeah. That's
right.
really beautiful. I love that.
Tell me, I want to know what you would say.
Okay, so mine's like very different, but I'm trying to, I'm doing all those kind of like, because I'm about to be 50. This is like a thing.
It's big.
And so I'm doing the letter to your former self, 50 pieces of knowledge, like really trying to think through, like, this matters to me and I want to be thoughtful about it. And this sounds funny, but as someone who knows me so well, if I could go back, and you can't go back, I would have cared less in almost every area. I have been overthinking, overanalyzing, over-worrying, talking things into the ground, white knuckling so many parts of life. And the older you get, the more you realize, like, number one, all of my thinking and worrying did not control the outcomes of any of those things.
Right.
It just made me so tired.
Right.
Like my poor
Right.
little brain, just like all the time. And I just, every once in a while now, as I age, I get moments of like a little bit of chill, like just a tiny bit, like not a lot, but a little. And it's so lovely to release your white knuckled grip a little bit.
Yes.
To stop controlling quite so much, to stop trying to think so much, care so much, analyze so much. And so if I could go back, I would care a lot less about almost everything.
Oh, I want to print that out and co-sign it, notarize it, frame it, and put it on my wall. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Yes, same.
Okay, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. And is there anything else that you want to say about the retreat? So we cover, it's St. Peter's in Chelsea, which is like a dreamy neighborhood, 9 to 4.
Yes.
September 28th.
Yes.
You're going to lead a guided tour of the neighborhood and deliver just a killer sermon on Joseph. Anything else people need to know about the day?
You know, the thing that I would say is don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Don't worry. You're not going to feel awkward. You don't need to prepare anything before you get there. You will be so well cared for. At this point, you're really lucky if you're showing up at a Pastor's Priest and Guides because it's kind of dialed in at this point. We know how to love and care for people so well because, along the way, you miss things. You go, we're not going to do that next time.
Yep.
And so the way in which this community has learned to love on and care for participants, it's really beautiful to see. So you just don't have to worry about anything. If you're feeling nervous, let it go, shake it off. You're going to be well taken care of.
I totally agree. Thank you so much.
My gosh, my pleasure.
Good to
Thank
talk
you.
with you.